Hello guys, welcome to this new tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to manage GitHub branches, right? I will show you how to manage GitHub branches. Please go ahead and subscribe if you have not done so that you don't have to miss any new video coming from us. And also you can find us on other social media platforms like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn. So let's go to the GitHub console and I will show you how to actually play around with GitHub branches. So here we have a repository. On this repository here, we have 3 branches. As you can see here, to check the number of branches that you have, you just have to read this number here. So GitHub will tell you the number of branches that you have here. So this is just the symbol of branch in GitHub. If you look at this symbol here, this means it's a branch. And then here we have 5 branches, right? And this is the main branch, right? For example, now, how do you check what is the default branch in GitHub, right? There are 2 ways to check. For example, let's start with how do if given a repository, how do you check what is a default branch? So you can either come here on this drop down menu, you click on this drop down menu, it will show you what is a default branch. So by the way, what is the meaning of default branch? Like the default branch, just the branch that comes when you create a repository. So when you create a repository, GitHub assign a default branch to that, right? When you create a repository, GitHub assign a default branch to that. When you also click here on this drop down menu, we can show you all the branches. To view all branches, you can click here and go to view all branches, or for example, you can come down here and you click on all the branches. You will be able to see, for example, all the branches. So it will tell you here, hey, your default branches here is main. These are your branches, for example, and these are the active branches, meaning that the active branches are actually the branches that you are working on right now. Like, like you can see here, I created these branches 4 minutes ago. And also sometimes you will see we say yours, meaning that, for example, in the GitHub repository, right? In the GitHub repository, you might have multiple people, right? You might have multiple collaborators on the GitHub repository. So this yours means that these are the GitHub repository that these are the GitHub branches that you created, right? The one that belong to you, right? Overview here is like, okay, everyone, you will see that all the branches that people created, but if you want to see the branches that you created, you click on yours, right? For example, also, if you want to see all the branches that are active, I mentioned earlier, active means that branches that are currently that were recently created, branches that like has an action has happened on it recently, right? So, and also what you can do is that you can delete a branch, right? You can, if I decide that, oh, I don't want this canary second no more, I can go ahead and delete it, and that will be over. So, right, as you can see, I've deleted. Now, what is beautiful about GitHub, when you delete a branch on GitHub, you can get it back, right? I deleted this this branch here called canary second 1, then I can get it back. If I click here on this arrow, I will get my repository back, right? And also you can do more manipulation on the repository by clicking on this 3 dot. For example, you can actually, new pull requests, like when we talk about this later on, I don't want to go over this. You can check on activities. What are the activities that happened on this? You can see all the activities that happened on that branch here, right? It will show you, for example, all the activity that happened on that branch and when. And also, if I click here, rules. Do you have any rule applicable to this repository? Did you or someone actually apply some rule in this branch, right? I would say repository, but it's branch on this branch. You click here, say, oh no, there's no rule associated with this branch. So there's no rule on this branch. Now, also, you can rename your branch. If your branch name you don't like your branch name, you can come down here and rename it. Let's just call it Canary. Let's just call it Canary, right? Let's just call it Canary. Rename it, right? If I refresh, you see, it is now Canary. That's how you can go ahead and rename a branch, right? The same thing here. You can go ahead and rename this main branch if you want, or if you don't want, you can do that. You can delete and do everything that you want. Now, also, let's go back to our repository. So to go back to the repository, it's simple. You just have to click here. Now, you can, this is like, for example, main is our default branch. What if I want Canary to be my default branch, right? Main is our default branch right now. What if I want Canary to become our default branch? It's simple, right? Every repository has a setting. You go here. This is the setting for the repository. So make sure you click on the repository. Then you go ahead. You go to setting, right? You go to setting. Then you can on setting you can rename rename the repository if you want. That's right. you can rename your repository, but we are not talking about that. We see that overview of the repository. So let's go to branch here, right? For example, here you can see here it is saying that, hey, this is your main branch. So I can decide that no, I want to change the main branch. I will click here on this arrow here, on this here. Then I will say choose another branch to set as your default branch, right? I can say, okay, I want Canary to be my default branch. Then I will update, right? Understand, update, right? It will just give you this message. So you go ahead and update. Now, if I go back to my repository, right? If I go back to my repository, as you guys can see, when you click on your repository, it will give you the default branch by default. Now, if I check, Canary is now default, right? By default branch is no more main. It went from main to actually Canary. So you can decide to switch the main branch. You can decide to switch. It depends on you. So I hope you like the video. If you like it, go ahead and give me a like, a thumbs up. And also, if you have any question, you can put it on the comment. I will go ahead and respond. And don't forget to also follow us on other social media. If you have not subscribed yet, please don't forget to subscribe. See you guys in another interesting video.